There are moments in life when a message arrives with such force, such urgency, and such unusual weight that your heart begins to race before your mind can even understand what is happening. When you hear the words, "I want to talk to you right now. It's very urgent. Open this now." It feels as if the atmosphere itself has shifted around you. And when a name as powerful, as visible, and as globally recognized as Elon Musk is attached to that urgency, the soul immediately senses that something unusual is at hand. But in behalf of God, let us go deeper than the surface, because this is not only about a man, not only about influence, not only about wealth, and not only about human urgency, but about what happens when a voice of great power seems to knock at the door of your attention and demand an immediate response. And do you understand that not every urgent call is truly about information, but some are about revelation? The first meaning hidden in such a statement is the power of interruption. Urgency interrupts routine. Urgency breaks distraction. Urgency refuses to wait politely on the edge of your comfort. It enters your thoughts and rearranges your focus. That is why these words carry so much emotional impact. "I want to talk to you right now" is not the language of delay. It is not the language of someday. It is not the language of casual interest. It is the language of sudden importance. And in spiritual meaning, God often allows urgent moments to appear in human life because He knows that comfort can make a soul spiritually sleepy. He knows that ordinary days often hide extraordinary decisions. So sometimes a message, a moment, a sign, or a disruption comes in such a way that you can no longer pretend not to notice what is being placed before you. And have you considered that the urgency itself may be exposing how numb the heart had become before the moment arrived? Now let us speak about the name itself. Elon Musk is known across the world as a man associated with invention, money, risk, speed, disruption, space, technology, ambition, and the future. He symbolizes the edge of what humanity thinks is possible. So when a script begins with, "Elon Musk says," it carries more than celebrity. It carries the weight of human achievement speaking directly to your private world. It feels as though the external world of power has suddenly turned inward and made contact with your personal destiny. But in behalf of God, this is where discernment must rise, because whenever a powerful earthly voice appears, the soul must remember that no matter how influential the messenger may seem, there is still a greater throne above every human platform. The earth may be impressed by status, but heaven measures meaning differently. And can you recognize that influence can attract attention, but only truth deserves surrender? The unbelievable tension in this message lies in the phrase, "Open this now." That phrase does not merely ask for your attention. It tests your posture. It places you in the position of a gatekeeper. You are the one at the door. You are the one holding access. You are the one deciding whether this urgency deserves entrance into your mind, your heart, your time, and your spirit. And this is deeply important before God, because life is not only about what seeks you, but about what you allow in. Many souls have been shaken not because nothing great ever came near them, but because they lacked discernment when greatness arrived wearing urgency. Some doors are opportunities. Some doors are distractions. Some doors are tests. Some doors are warnings. Some doors are divine appointments. And some doors come dressed in importance only to see whether you have matured enough to pause before reacting. And is it not true that the greatest damage often comes not from the knock itself, but from opening too quickly without asking God what stands outside? If we interpret this message symbolically, then it becomes even deeper. A figure of global influence saying, "I want to talk to you right now," can represent the moment when the world seems to notice you, when an external system reaches toward you, when visibility begins to pursue you rather than you pursuing visibility. Many people spend their lives longing to be seen, longing to be validated, longing to be chosen by powerful people, powerful rooms, and powerful institutions. But when the moment comes and the knock finally reaches your personal door, the question is no longer whether you wanted to be noticed. The question becomes whether you are spiritually prepared for what human recognition can do to an unguarded heart. Are you still stable when honor arrives? Are you still humble when relevance appears? Are you still governed by God when the world suddenly says, "You matter now"? And can you admit that not everyone who wants attention is truly ready for the cost of being seen? Urgency is never merely about speed. It is about alignment. The world thinks urgency means move quickly. Heaven often teaches that urgency means hear correctly. Those are not the same thing. To move quickly without discernment is panic. To hear correctly and obey rightly is wisdom. So when something comes at you and says, "This is urgent," the first spiritual question is not, "How fast can I react?" but, "What spirit is driving this urgency?" Some urgencies are born of fear. Some are born of manipulation. Some are born of ego. Some are born of pressure. But the urgencies allowed by God carry a different atmosphere. Even when they come suddenly, they do not produce chaos alone. They create clarity. They may awaken trembling, but beneath the trembling there is a line of truth. So the test is not whether the message is loud, but whether the message remains clean when brought before God. And have you learned the difference between a voice that startles your nerves and a voice that settles your spirit even while calling you higher? There is another layer hidden here, and it speaks to worth. If someone like Elon Musk says, "I want to talk to you right now," the average person immediately assumes this must be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Why? Because the world has trained human beings to measure importance by association with status. But in behalf of God, your worth is never created by who contacts you. Your value does not begin the day a famous name notices you. Your assignment did not become holy because a powerful human voice attached urgency to it. Before any human platform turned its eyes toward you, heaven already knew your name. Before the world learned how to pronounce your relevance, God had already written your existence into purpose. Therefore, the script is not really about whether the famous want access to you. It is about whether you remember who you are when they do. And can you stand before the urgent call of the world without forgetting the quieter, older call of God over your life? Let us go deeper still, because the phrase, "I want to talk to you," is more intimate than, "I have an offer for you," or, "I have news for you." It suggests direct engagement. It suggests exchange. It suggests that your voice matters too. And that is spiritually significant because one of the deepest human longings is not just to be seen, but to be heard, to be spoken to directly by someone considered powerful feels like an elevation of your importance. Yet, in behalf of God, many souls are starving for conversations with the powerful because they have not fully believed that God already listens when they speak. If a human of influence wanting to talk to you feels like a miracle, then perhaps the heart must be reminded of the greater miracle that the Creator of heaven and earth has never required fame in order to hear your cry. So tell me, if the world's important voices excite you this much, how much more should your spirit awaken to the truth that God has been inviting you into conversation all along? The urgency of the message also reveals the fragility of human time. Right now is the language of a narrow window. It suggests that something can be missed. It suggests that hesitation could cost you. It suggests that delay may close a door. And yes, sometimes life truly works like that. There are moments when opportunity does not wait forever. There are seasons when hesitation becomes loss. There are doors that must be recognized while they are still open. But in behalf of God, timing must never be worshipped above obedience. Many people fear missing great opportunities, yet they rarely fear missing the voice of God with the same seriousness. They panic over earthly windows closing while living casually before eternal ones. That is why this script must become a mirror. What kind of urgency truly governs your life? Do you only move when worldly importance summons you, or have you learned to tremble also when God whispers, convicts, redirects, and calls you to open the hidden chambers of your own soul? Now consider the emotional theater of the phrase, "Open this now." These words awaken curiosity, fear, hope, ambition, and imagination all at once. The mind begins creating possibilities before reality has spoken. This is exactly how many spiritual tests operate. The enemy often does not begin with destruction. He begins with fascination. He knows that curiosity without covering can become a breach. He knows that ambition without discernment can become bondage. He knows that urgency can rush the soul past prayer. So when such a message appears, it is not only testing your desire, it is testing your discipline. Can you be excited without becoming reckless? Can you be hopeful without becoming naive? Can you receive possibility without surrendering your peace? Because before God, maturity is not proven by how strongly you desire the opportunity, but by how cleanly you handle the doorway through which it comes. And have you noticed how often the first battle is won or lost before the door is even opened? This message can also symbolize the hour when your gifts begin attracting rooms you never expected. One day no one asks for you. The next day, voices of consequence seem to require you immediately. This shift can happen in ministry, business, creativity, leadership, invention, relationships, or purpose. Suddenly what was hidden becomes needed. Suddenly what was overlooked becomes valuable. Suddenly what was private is being called into public relevance. But when that happens, the soul must remain anchored because rapid elevation can expose hidden instability. A person who spent years praying to be seen may discover that being seen is not as simple as imagined. Visibility multiplies pressure. Urgency multiplies decisions. Influence multiplies temptation. Access multiplies warfare. Therefore, if a powerful voice reaches for you, the real issue is not whether you can enter the room, but whether your spirit can survive the room without losing its oil. And are you strong enough to be chosen without becoming owned by what chose you? There is also a prophetic contrast between technology and spirit hidden in the name Elon Musk. He represents advancement, machinery, systems, scale, futuristic thinking, and man pushing against limits. God, however, reminds humanity that no matter how far technology reaches, it cannot replace spiritual truth. A machine may accelerate movement, but it cannot sanctify motive. A platform may magnify voice, but it cannot purify heart. Wealth may open doors, but it cannot buy divine peace. Innovation may impress the earth, but only God can sustain the soul. So when a technologically symbolic figure seems to cry out with urgency, the deeper message may be this: the modern world will always demand faster responses, quicker openings, instant decisions, and relentless availability. But the people of God must not become so responsive to the digital world that they lose responsiveness to the eternal one. In a generation obsessed with notifications, have you guarded enough silence to still hear what heaven is saying? This message is also about pressure and identity. The moment a high-status voice appears urgent, many people feel small. They feel as though they must prove something quickly. They feel they cannot keep the powerful waiting. But in behalf of God, never let urgency strip you of dignity. There is a difference between humility and self-erasure. There is a difference between readiness and desperation. If the call is truly for you, then truth will not need you to become less than who God made you in order to answer it. Yes, honor the moment. Yes, respect significance. Yes, recognize timing. But do not crawl where God has called you to stand. Do not abandon prayer because the world says hurry. Do not silence conscience because the moment feels rare. The same God who can create access can also preserve it. The same God who opens doors can govern the pace at which you walk through them. So why should fear of losing the opportunity be allowed to make you lose yourself? Another meaning is this: sometimes the urgent message is not about what the famous need from you, but about what the moment reveals within you. Does the possibility of being contacted by power make you feel validated at last? Does it awaken pride? Does it awaken fear? Does it awaken greed? Does it awaken fantasy? Does it awaken insecurity? These reactions matter because God often uses powerful symbols to expose the secret places of the human heart. A dramatic invitation can become a spiritual diagnostic. The moment you read the urgent words, your hidden desires speak. Your emotional foundations reveal themselves. Your idols rise to the surface. Your wounds ask for attention. Your dreams begin shouting. And what a person does with that exposure determines whether the moment becomes growth or damage. So when the urgent voice knocks, are you listening only to the message outside, or also to the condition inside that the message is uncovering? There is a holy warning here about false urgency. Not everything labeled urgent is sacred. Not everything that feels rare is righteous. Not everything that appears prestigious is safe. The world has mastered the art of manufacturing immediacy. It knows how to create emotional pressure so that people bypass discernment. It knows how to exploit the fear of missing out. It knows how to make human beings equate speed with wisdom. But God is never threatened by your pause to pray. God is never insulted when you test a spirit. God is never anxious because you chose discernment before reaction. In fact, much of spiritual maturity is the refusal to let external intensity dictate internal confusion. So if a voice cries out, "Open this now," but your spirit has not yet bowed before God, then perhaps the most powerful thing you can do is pause long enough to ask, "Lord, what is this really?" And have you learned that delay in prayer can be greater wisdom than speed, and it can also be understood in a positive and divinely allowed way? Perhaps the urgent call represents a season of acceleration. Perhaps it symbolizes a door opening after long obscurity. Perhaps it signifies that what God placed in you is becoming impossible for the world to ignore. Sometimes heaven does allow sudden summons. Sometimes a person goes from hidden to needed very quickly. Sometimes years of preparation meet a single moment of recognition. Sometimes what looked like silence was actually training. Sometimes what felt like delay was divine construction. Then, when the hour comes, the call arrives with urgency because the timing has finally matured. If that is the case, then the message becomes less about panic and more about preparedness. Not, "Why is this happening?" but, "Have I lived in such a way that when the moment comes, I can carry it?" So let me ask you, if today were the day your hidden season ended, would your inner life be ready for the outer call? God says, one of the deepest meanings here is that man seeks conversation, but God seeks consecration. A powerful human may say, "I want to talk to you." God says, "I want your heart, your obedience, your trust, your mind, your ways, your motives, your surrender." Human urgency often wants immediate response. Divine urgency wants transformed response. Human influence may ask for your attention. God asks for your alignment. Human rooms may want your skill. God wants your soul intact while using your skill. Therefore, the greater issue is not whether Elon Musk or any influential power wants to speak to you. The greater issue is whether you have become the kind of vessel that can be approached by significance without abandoning holiness. What is the use of entering important rooms if you leave your spiritual garments at the door? There is also the possibility that the message is symbolic of a generation being summoned. Elon Musk, in this frame, may stand for the spirit of the age, the relentless future, innovation, ambition, disruption, competition, expansion, and a race to define tomorrow. Then the urgent sentence becomes the voice of the era saying to your soul, "Choose now. Respond now. Attach yourself now. Become part of this acceleration now." And in behalf of God, this places every person at a crossroads. Will you engage the future with wisdom, or be swallowed by its speed? Will you participate in progress without being possessed by it? Will you enter innovation without losing reverence? Will you answer the age while still belonging to eternity? Because the greatest crisis of modern people is not that the world is moving fast, but that many souls have forgotten how to remain anchored while moving through it. And do you see how urgency without God can make advancement look like destiny when it is only motion? This message must also speak to secrecy and revelation. Open this now implies that something has been sealed, concealed, or hidden from plain view. There is content behind the door. There is a revelation waiting on the other side of response. That is spiritually powerful because life before God is full of hidden things, hidden motives, hidden seasons, hidden assignments, hidden warnings, hidden opportunities, hidden dangers, hidden healing, hidden mercy. Sometimes a message appears not to create chaos, but to force unveiling. What has been closed must be opened. What has been ignored must be faced. What has been delayed must be acknowledged. So perhaps the phrase is not only about an external message at all. Perhaps God is allowing this imagery to ask you what in your own life you have refused to open. What truth have you postponed? What wound have you covered? What instruction have you archived? What calling have you left unread while claiming to wait for a greater sign? Another profound meaning is the contrast between external greatness and internal readiness. The world sees Elon Musk and thinks of rockets, billions, influence, headlines, companies, and future systems. God sees hearts. God sees whether fame becomes an idol. God sees whether access becomes intoxication. God sees whether the soul confuses rare opportunity with divine approval. Therefore, the message becomes a test of whether you evaluate life by shine or by substance. If a poor stranger sent the same urgent line, would you respond with the same trembling? If not, then something inside you may still be trained more by status than by spirit. And God, in His mercy, often exposes this. He lets the symbolism of fame reveal whether your heart is stable or easily mastered by prestige. So in the presence of worldly importance, can you remain the same soul before God that you were when no powerful name knew you existed? This is also about stewardship of attention. Your attention is one of the holiest resources entrusted to you. Whatever controls your attention begins influencing your direction. Whatever shapes your focus shapes your becoming. The modern world fights for attention like kingdoms once fought for land. Messages, alerts, personalities, crises, trends, controversies, opportunities, and urgent voices all cry out, "Open this now!" But only a guarded soul survives such warfare intact. If you open everything, you become fragmented. If you answer every urgency, you lose your center. If you allow every famous voice to define value, you forget how to hear truth in quiet places. Therefore, your ability to say yes is only holy when matched by your ability to say not yet, no, wait, or Lord first. Can you imagine how many spiritual battles would be won if believers guarded their attention as carefully as they guard their reputations? Let us now draw the deepest spiritual conclusion. The message, "I want to talk to you right now. It's very urgent. Open this now," can ultimately be heard as a mirror of divine appeal. Strip away the famous human name. Strip away the symbolism of wealth and power. Strip away the shock value. And what remains is a question. When something important calls for your immediate attention, what do you do with your heart? Because God has been saying to many souls in quieter ways, "Come now. Listen now. Return now. Surrender now. Forgive now. Obey now. Open now." Yet many ignore the gentle urgencies of heaven while becoming electrified by the urgencies of earth. Is that not a tragedy? That a soul can awaken more quickly to the possibility of worldly access than to the certainty of divine invitation? This message is not finally about Elon Musk at all. It is about every moment when power, opportunity, symbolism, urgency, and mystery converge at the door of your life. It is about whether you are ruled by reaction or guided by discernment. It is about whether fame shakes you more than truth steadies you. It is about whether your identity collapses into desperation when significant doors appear. It is about whether you can handle a suddenly open future without losing the slow-built character God formed in hidden places. It is about whether you can hear a loud earthly knock without neglecting the still voice that has been calling you deeper for years. And now that you have heard this message unpacked in the light of God, will you open every urgent thing that comes to you? Or will you first ask heaven to reveal what is truly standing at your door? And let this be the closing word over your spirit. If the world calls, answer with discernment. If opportunity comes, receive it with humility. If urgency rises, submit it to prayer. If power notices you, remain low before God. If a door opens, walk through with clean hands. If a message stirs your soul, test its spirit before you trust its speed. For no voice on earth, however rich, brilliant, or influential, is greater than the voice of the Lord over your life. Men may announce urgency, but only God defines destiny. Men may request your attention, but only God deserves your deepest surrender. Men may open doors of influence, but only God can keep your soul from being lost inside them. So if tonight a message were to arrive saying, "I want to talk to you right now. It's very urgent. Open this now." Would you be moved only by the excitement of the moment, or would you first fall before God and say, "Lord, let me open only what you have already blessed"?